Can you see me all okay? I was confused, right? I was streaming and I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe there's not many people about or whatever. But I had a duplicate stream, so it was streaming to the wrong thing. So I've been streaming into the abyss. How sad is that? Damn, I was like, oh, maybe there's just not many people about today, you know? Maybe, you know, that's just how it's gonna be. But everyone was thinking I was Miss Unpopular. Oh, damn. Oh god, that's funny as hell. Now I have to hear it again. I was streaming into the fucking abyss. We had a duplicate stream key. Mad. You live, you learn. Alright. So today we're going to be going over the 3v3 debate, the health ethics of veganism. I've been told it's pretty bad. It's 3.5 hours long. So what I'm going to do... Yeah, I was streaming. I was on time. In fact, I was early. So I've just been streaming. I was just like, just nobody might be about. That's okay. But I was just like, you know, around this time, people definitely like... They definitely say stuff, you know? They're not this silent. So then I realized there was a problem. Okay. Because it's such a long debate, it's probably going to be 2 streams. I'm going to keep those streams public. And as well as that, I'm going to be... let me just move my mic. I'm going to be gaming while I do it. Because I'm not really going to sit here for 3.5 hours, you know. Yeah, it's a Sunday, you know? It's a Sunday. It can't be blamed. How are you anyway? Vainamoinum, hello Gig, hello Maz. I've already said hello to you 3. But you didn't hear me. The Real Thing, Leon, Twisted, Postmortem, Bianca. Michael, how are you? Oh, goodness. Right, let's get to it, shall we? Let's bring it forward.
But I also do...
Just tell me if the levels are okay. Yo, Marlin.
Political stuff now, too. And of course, if you want to see my beautiful, amazing body, you can also check me out on OnlyFans.
I'm very orange.
Jim Bob, nice to see you back on the Crucible. I've done a lot of content with Jim Bob,
oh, yeah,
a long-time debater on this channel.
He's
go ahead, do the same thing. Man. Take a minute, tell everybody where they can find you, a little bit about yourself.
Made by Jim Bob. I'm mostly a political cartoonist on Instagram and other avenues. I have a channel, the Made by Jim Bob Show, you can find on YouTube as well. I do debates, commentary, some comedy, and a bunch of panels as well. So,
do you mind flexing, Jim Bob? I feel.
Over. I got the
Vegan Gains wins that one.
Yeah, I think he wins that one.
True.
Posh Redneck, nice to see you back. Same thing to you. You just started a new channel. Tell everybody where they can find that and briefly a little bit about yourself.
Well, I hardly just started it. I just started posting stuff now that I figured that out.
Oh, goodness.
Because I don't just sound like I'm from 1,000 years ago. Apparently my technological aptitude matches that.
This is going to be a long
I'm primarily a linguist. I also dabble quite a bit in theology and philosophy, and that's what my channel is about, the Posh Redneck.
Yo, big stream.
And on Instagram, _Posh_Redneck. And I'm about to go back into making memes because I sure like it. I don't know why I haven't been for a while. So that's a mystery for all of us.
I'm not going to do this
that's
one.
about it for now.
Can you tell the audience whether or not your facial hair grows in all white trashy like that just because that was the gift from God? Or is it you have to actually shave it into that shape?
Well, the biggest reason is that my brother stole all the facial hair genes. He's got a full beard, full mustache. And so as a younger brother, I'm sort of... condemned to deal with the leftovers. So here I am, looking rather Mongolian, but that's what I have to deal with.
Well, fair enough. And then Alex PWF, you see a lot of crossover content between our channels as well. No stranger to the Crucible.
You think I should put it in 1.25 speed? Okay. I don't know if it's a 1.25 speed day, but let's do this. See how well I can multitask.
Go ahead, take a minute, shout yourself out, your channel
Yeah,
out. Your first time. Go ahead.
Andrew's
Yeah,
rapidly
they
becoming
are
a geek.
talking very slowly. But the problem is, Synth talks quite quickly.
So my work is almost done. Yeah, I run a channel called Playing with Fire. We do a lot of dating advice, relationship stuff, self-improvement, but also we do debates about anything and everything. Andrew has been on my channel a million times. We've had some really, really juicy debates. In fact, one very recently, a few days ago with Destiny. That one's extremely fascinating. So yeah, check it out.
Okay, guys, really
Dog
appreciate
meat.
Dog Meat the lad tipped £1. This is coming up.
Steel worker.
Last thing, Tapio, then we have to move on. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm a steel worker, and I basically need to eat meat. Otherwise, I will shrivel up and die, and I won't be able to do my job properly. So what do you recommend for people who have labor guys who sit around behind
Show your guns, dude. Show your guns, huh? You got more muscle than me. I haven't eaten meat.
Just show my guns.
You're the biggest person on this panel.
I just got a gym membership.
The most yoked person. Nobody's gonna argue with that even, right? You
I
know
just got gym membership.
How is your gut health? How does your stomach health feel?
What do you mean my gut
Does your
health?
tummy feel good after eating 30 pounds of carbs?
Well, I don't eat 30 pounds of carbs in one meal.
Obviously.
All right.
It was an exaggeration.
Caller, thank you. I do appreciate your call in.
Wow, what an idiot.
Thank you. So I will shrivel up and die, and I won't be able to do my job properly. So what do you recommend for people?
He's fucking massive. Holy shit. Damn. Thank you, Dog Meat. Salad's in the chat. Thank you so much for tipping and supporting my work. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. Trying hard to give that vegan content for the deficient. Oh, by the way, Sean Baker responded to me, so I made a video about that.
Intros. Now I'm going to run this fairly tight just in the intro portion here. I'm going to give each person 3 minutes, which is not a lot of time, to kind of summarize your position before we enter into the back and forth. I'm going to start with the left side. And Synth, why don't you kick it off for us? 3 minutes on the clock. Go ahead.
Sure. So the current treatment of animals is one of the most obvious moral failings our society currently deals with. This shows in the really silly arguments people make regarding veganism. Just think about how silly some of these arguments are. The arguments against veganism are. Imagine someone thought it was wrong to torture dogs for trivial pleasure in the same way that vegans think it's wrong to torture pigs and so on for the trivial pleasures of eating meat. Now imagine somebody told those anti-dog torture advocates things like, well, dog torture is really convenient and stopping it is hard. Well, that wouldn't matter if it's true or false. That's still dumb. Well, if I stop torturing dogs, other people would still torture them anyway. Well, that doesn't matter. Obviously, you torturing the dog is wrong even if other people are also doing it. So, well, dog torture is necessary for my health. Well, once again, this is obviously false. There are plenty of people who are healthy and don't torture dogs, so it's clearly not necessary. But if it was true, still wouldn't matter. It would be wrong to torture dogs even if it was necessary for your health. As long as you can survive without it, even if you had to be unhealthy, still wouldn't matter. But on the other hand, the positive argument for veganism is pretty simple. Causing lots of suffering for trivial pleasure, like whatever taste differences you think exist between an Impossible Burger and the normal burger, is wrong. Now let's try to think about what it is that makes some species special. Well, if you're a subjectivist, you just have to convince me that you have some incredibly rare dispositions that most people don't, where it doesn't actually make you feel bad at all if pigs are living ankle deep in their own shit. Personally, I wouldn't believe you, but if you show me you have some like psychological evidence, that's what you mean by morals, I would agree that you'd be correct there. When you say that it's not morally wrong, this is not how I or most people use the moral language, but you clearly have wild dispositions, other people don't. And if you're a realist, you'd have to convince me that some stance and independent reasons out there for some reasons just care about who you have the capacity to interbreed with. That seems really strange to me. That's the end of my opening statement.
Damn, short and to the point. Okay, moving over to Corinth. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes on the clock.
Not their pronouns, are they?
Yeah, I think Synth adequately answered most of the ethical issues, so I think I'll focus my
remember now.
along the health lines. When you look at the health benefits of veganism, the only nutrient that you're going to have a hard time getting on a vegan diet is going to be dietary cholesterol. You're going to be able to avoid a lot of carcinogens, like in red meat, just by virtue of not eating that. You're going to have lower rates of things like cancer because of that. You're going to have a much more sustainable version of a diet by as well as going into the I'm sorry, that's not a health issue. That's going to go into environmental issues. You're going to have less need to transport food via trucks, which is going to lower greenhouse gas emissions, which is also then going to lower the chance of external risk like climate change, just by virtue of having less transport. And those are, you're going to also have every single nutrient you need in a healthy diet on your vegan diet. I think that's the really short part of where I wanted to go with it.
Is it true that the only thing you're not getting is cholesterol? I thought you have to be a bit more careful than that.
Just real quick, guys.
I guess though, the word diet, you know, supplements are included in that. So
I'm typing a lot of shit.
don't type. It's like my biggest pet peeve, right? Don't type when other people are talking. It's just super. It just drives me nuts.
Why would you do that?
I'll just mute myself.
Like,
all right, fair enough. Vegan.
Why would you do that while you're not muted? Like, it's rude as hell. Like, if you're on a fucking panel with like multiple people, like, I get that, but it's weird Andrew talking about rudeness. It's weird.
Haynes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes on the clock whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so I think everybody in here agrees with the idea of fundamental human rights, and I think everyone in here probably believes that we should be logically consistent. And I believe veganism is merely a logical extension of human rights. So for the same reasons you would grant a human a right to life, I believe animals are also, or should also be granted that right to life. And if somebody believes that animals do not deserve that right, then they need to point out the differences between humans and animals that would justify that. But in order to be logically consistent, you must also agree to take away the rights of human beings if they lack those traits that animals are lacking to justify taking away that right to life. So I don't think there's any way to justify taking away animal rights and not granting them human rights without also taking away rights from some humans. So I think that's something that we're going to have to discuss tonight. And as far as the health part of this, it's pretty obvious to me in the research and the data that vegan diets are perfectly healthful for all stages of the life cycle. It also confers health benefits. Vegans tend to be at a healthier body weight. They have lower cholesterol, lower blood pressure, lower instances of diabetes, obesity, and they tend to live a bit longer than the general population. And if I am any evidence of it, you can also be a jacked son of a bitch on a vegan diet, and you can get all the protein you need. So that's my opening statement done.
Okay, then moving over to the right side of the panel, we're going to start with you, Jim Bob. You have 3 minutes on the clock. Go ahead when you're ready.
Here we go.
Okay, I've debated some vegans before. A lot of these arguments are the same as what are being posed today. They start with assumptions like there's rights. They start with assumptions like there's ethics, and they can ground those things. What I found every single time is not only can they not ground the concept of rights in their paradigm, but they can't ground even, they can't even present the difference between a human being and an animal in their paradigm.
Wait,
the attempt to equalize an animal and a human being doesn't answer the question of why should we treat an animal more like a human being and not why don't we treat human beings more like animals? This is unanswered in their view. The difference they're going to try to argue is sentience. If this comes up, which it probably will, they're not going to be able to tell you between a crustacean, a crab, or a weasel. They're not going to tell you where sentience starts to begin. Further, if we can recreate sentience and place it in man-made
How has he got that from his conversations with vegans? Is he just being slimy again? Is that just classic Jim Bob? I think it is, you know.
Suddenly you're going to have to bite the bullet on house rights. And so I hope we get to house rights tonight. That's my opening.
All right, appreciate that very much. We're going to move right over to Posh Redneck. Posh, go ahead when you're ready.
So we have already heard appeals.
He's much quieter than
like
the others,
we,
sorry.
We all would agree that we shouldn't torture dogs. First of all, I couldn't give a damn.
Appeals to
Couldn't
emotion.
be persuaded to give a damn. Secondly, that...
you couldn't be persuaded to give a damn. Oh, it's just because you're a bit of a cunt, aren't you? Yeah, you couldn't give a damn whether or not someone abuses a dog. You know, because I'm just a gentleman. I'm just absolutely, I couldn't give a fuck. If I were the victim, I would very much care about it because I'm very important. I'm more important than anybody else. In fact, yeah, that's why I speak the way I do, because I'm more regal. Jesus Christ.
Bears no consequence on the debate tonight, because we are supposed to be having, as Jim Bob said, a way to ground our ethics. And if we're going to ground our ethics in materialism, well, that's going to be difficult, as we will explore tonight. But also, as we talk about consequentialism, I plan on testing our counterparts here as how far they're willing to sacrifice their taste buds for the sake of either the planet or for the sake of the well-being of animals, etc. But it's going to be quite a bit of nuance here, because as far as I see it, any ideology tends to break down on specificities, because veganism is an ideology. It's not a moral system. It isn't anything of the sort. It's an arbitrary set of applying and then also removing restrictions whenever one sees fit and however one's moral intuition, or rather...
God almighty, this is a lot of spiel, really. Just so you know, by the way, I've got a tip counter that each time it reaches 60, I will share a segment of the book that I'm writing. So if that's incentive to throw some money at your friendly neighborhood vegan, then yeah, please.
Taste tends to bring them. So not much for an opening statement. I wish to do most of the make most of my points in the exchange.
Understood. And then finally, Alex, last but not least, go ahead. You have 3 minutes on the
going
clock.
Into the chaos,
saving the best for last. So I'm going to argue mainly from a health perspective, since that is my main disagreement with veganism. While being vegan is better than the standard American diet, it is far, far from optimal. That is why there's a bunch of ex-vegans, people who became vegan, they were happy with it, and eventually developed health issues. There's a massive amount of people who went from being vegan to being paleo. I don't know anyone who went from being paleo to being vegan. So the switch is always in the direction of I got to have some kind of animal protein.
What garbage is this? I didn't know we would be dealing with this level of like bottom barrel tier shit. Why would you even in your opening statement go, oh yeah, you see people go from this diet to this diet, but you don't see them go from this diet to this diet? Like, where's polling data or like where's something? Like, some survey even, like, this level of like people, not polling data rather, been watching too much political YouTube, Jesus. Yeah, it's like even a survey or something that's like, even though that wouldn't be like very robust, you could just be like, okay, yeah, which ones did you go from? It's just like, oh no, you see it. What? Are you joking? This is ridiculous. Oh my god. Okay, we're in for a clown show. Holy shit. Okay. Damn. It's just, yeah, it's pretty ding-dongery. Jesus.
Into my diet some kind of healthy fast. In order to be vegan and be healthy, you have to supplement a bunch of things. You cannot just eat a pure vegan diet and get all your vitamins and minerals. You have to supplement B12, iodine, omega-3, and a whole bunch of other things. Versus if you eat a paleo diet, you don't need to supplement anything, right? That's the big difference. So if you need to take supplements for this diet,
you don't need to supplement on a paleo diet? God, there's all sorts of fucking claims being made. I hope he substantiates even one of them, but like, you never know, do you? You never really know.
To give you the minerals you need, and that by default shows you that the diet is deficient in certain things that your body needs to function. There's one other statistic I'll throw out there. According to an NIH study, people on low-fat plant-based diets ate fewer daily calories but had higher insulin and blood glucose levels. Blood glucose levels are directly tied to your health, and having high blood glucose levels causes all kinds of health issues. Hopefully everyone on this panel is too young to get that yet, but I have my own bout with I was at one point pre-diabetic, and I can tell you that shit is not good. You don't want to become diabetic, and you don't want to have high blood glucose levels compared to people when they ate a low carbohydrate animal-based diet. They had actually lower blood glucose levels. So there's a whole bunch of science and studies that show the downsides of being vegan. Again, it's better than eating the standard American diet, but there's a step that's above that, which is going to make you much healthier and give you a much higher quality of health.
Is that your opening, Alex?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, gentlemen, I am going to open up the floor to this debate. Before I do, I want to set down just a couple of ground rules for you in the audience. There's going to be contention in both the chat and on the panel. So all Crucible crew members, remember it's okay to argue in the chat, but keep it at least somewhat respectful and within the confines of TOS. I asked the same thing for the panelists. I understand this is going to be very contentious. I'm not going to break up every exchange immediately, right? Unless there's so much over talking that nobody can understand what's going on. Make sure that you send in super chats via the YouTube super chat function. You'll find the $ sign at the bottom. You can also send in via the donor chat link, which is pinned on the top. If you want to send into Vegan Gains or Made by Jim Bob, who are both currently streaming this, and Alex PWF, you are streaming this, right?
I'm actually not streaming.
Oh, you're not? Okay. But you can send in super chats to their channels by going to their channels as well. And what I'm going to try to do is allow everybody to pull up their super chats near the end of this debate. We are going to be taking in callers tonight as well. With that, gentlemen, the floor is open. Go ahead.
Sure, I want that question to the right side of the panel really quick that we kind of we all want answered, which is just what is it that gives humans moral value that doesn't apply to animals?
Hey.
That they are human and not animals.
Oh
human
my
not
god.
Categorization.
Yeah, that's a circular argument. You have to give us your definition of human or give us what it means to be a human.
I think it's a higher level of consciousness.
Yes, and you can say the Homo sapiens sapiens, and why not?
You know what? It seems like the other guys are like slippery, but Alex is just kind of just engaging in his level of understanding. Because he just said higher level of consciousness, and it's like, well, you haven't really thought through that position because the reductios it's going to lead you to are probably not going to be things you sign off on. But the other guys, I think they know the reductios, so they're just being they're being a bit slippery. That seems to be what's going to happen, right?
And the categorization of Homo sapiens sapiens enough.
So one of you is saying it's the higher level of consciousness, so it's not the species.
I'd agree with Alex.
Yeah, and you'd agree with Alex that the reason that humans are valuable is because of their higher levels of consciousness.
Like when you say there's a difference between a rat.
Sorry, so just to be really clear, a Homo sapiens sapiens is not the same as somebody with a higher level of consciousness. They're a stupid Homo sapiens sapiens, right?
Okay, so would you say there's a difference between like a cockroach and a dog in terms of levels of consciousness?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So following that logic, why would humans not be higher levels of consciousness since we learned how to use tools?
The average human is. Right, our view is the average human is. There are some humans who are dumber, and we don't think they should be tortured, and you don't think they should be tortured either. So clearly, it's not the higher.
So it's the cat. So then go with the category then of human being.
Even
then you're changing the argument.
So higher level of consciousness than an animal.
So Homo sapien is the trait?
No, that's a category. Traits are within a category. It's
right.
not the reasoning isn't the trait itself.
Categorizations are based on traits.
Yeah, they're not the same as traits though.
All right, so let me pose the question like this. Well, let me pose this question. You have a gun to your head. There's 2 buns. First bun is 1 human being dies.
I killed the animal.
5 cows die. Okay.
Well,
5 cows die? I think it would depend on the human being, but I think I would lean towards killing the 5 cows.
Okay, so you, by your own logic,
I value humans more than the average animal. Yeah, but if a human was sufficiently stupid and a human was sufficiently immoral, then I would think, kill the stupid immoral person before you kill the 5 cows.
You don't know in this analogy.
So by the way,
I'm telling you the average. I know, yeah, based on the average, I would kill the 5 cows.
Right. So according to your logic, you value humans more than you value animals.
Yeah, and you value dogs more than you value humans, but you wouldn't rape a dog.
Wait, what makes you think I value dogs more than I value humans?
I meant the other way around. If I said that, I mean, you value humans more than you value dogs, but you wouldn't rape a dog.
I wouldn't. Well, you're talking about sexual things. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't hit a dog with you wouldn't beat a dog to the shovel either, right?
Well, I wouldn't never cause unnecessary cruelty to an animal.
No,
yeah.
well, you do. You do.
Would you kill and eat a dog for food, Alex?
That's the point.
Would I kill? Well, if I like as my life is right now, no, because I have access to food. But if I was trapped on an island and it's like a stray dog and I'm really gonna starve to death, I probably would. Yeah, I don't think I would be able to do it with my own dog because I have like a strong bond with my dog. But a random dog, if it's a matter of life and death, yeah, I think I would.
It's not a matter of life and
like,
death.
You know, cows, chickens, pigs. I'm sure you eat like bacon or chicken or like beef sometimes. Correct?
Like, was that even?
I don't really like.
Was that even part of the hypothetical? Oh, I was shipping. I thought that was a super chat for me. Then I was just like, what did I freaking miss? Jesus. Okay.
Pork, I mainly eat chicken and steak.
Okay, right. So, like, what's the meaningful difference between, say, a cow and your dog, to where you're fine with killing the cow?
I have a bond with my dog. I don't have a bond.
What about other people's dogs? What about stray dogs? You wouldn't eat those either.
Have.
Well, no, like I said, if I was in a situation where I was starving,
being
I wouldn't
dishonest.
You're not.
Well, we're not talking about a situation where you're starving.
One meaningful difference is that a dog doesn't know what a meaningful difference is.
Why do you need to?
Yeah, I don't think that's not a meaningful difference because Alex values the dog as well. Alex is going to pretend that it's okay to beat dogs with the shovels. Alex understands that there's true answer there, which is it's wrong to beat dogs with the shovels. It would be wrong to torture a dog if you didn't have to. Right? That's the obvious answer.
I think we got to draw a distinction between killing and like.
That's the thing with these guys. For the most part, they wouldn't engage in these reductios that they're saying they would. They say, "Oh, I wouldn't. Yeah, I just want to be consistent," because they can just get away with saying that and being slimy, and you know, it's funny to people because like dunk on the vegans, right? But like for the most part, I've met a few people who I genuinely believe they would probably like slit a dog's throat and like take pleasure in it, or like, you know, just have so little value for anyone outside of themselves. But for the most part, people don't do that. People wouldn't do that. There'd be something in there going, no, that's not okay. Did I die? Jesus! Ow! I died, man. Hello. Yeah, just... Sorry, yeah, Geordie, I thought I could stream without you. That's pretty rude, really, isn't it? It's pretty rude.
Torture, right? Like, I don't think anyone who's anti-vegan is in favor of like torturing animals, right? Like, you can make an argument that factory farming, or you can make an argument that factory farming is torture, but the way around that is you don't get meat from factory farms, which I don't. You eat like grass-fed, pastured cows.
Grass-fed is going to be usually CAPAs as well.
They receive yes, but they're not kept in tight
yeah, they're CAPAs as well.
It's a higher quality of life and it's more ethical.
Grass-fed only means
from farms.
Mean they're not being confined.
Right, but there's different. Not all farms are the same. There's factory farm meat, and then there's pastured animals who live on a farm who have a decent amount of acres, right? So there's a difference there. But I think that if you want to make an ethical argument about like, hey, I think it's better overall ethically if you don't eat meat, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think it's more ideal if you don't kill any animals, right? But my whole argument my whole argument is you don't agree or you do agree?
I completely agree, and I think you have the obligation to do the best that you can with the situation you're in, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like where do you draw the line? Because like
just the best you can.
Well, all the clothes we're wearing, all the clothes you guys are wearing, come from factory farms,
God,
factory,
this is analogous.
whatever factory shit.
The best you can. The best. Hold on, Alex. The best you can do.
Let Alex finish that sentence, because I actually want to engage with that, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, like all the clothes we're wearing and the iPhones we have, some 7-year-old Chinese dude made it, boy made it, working 12 hours a day. Like,
yeah, so two issues with this. One is it's not clear to me that sweatshop labor is actually bad for the people involved. I think that's a weird myth that we have. I think that these people,
really?
if you boycott their products entirely, now they have no job. It's a lot worse to have no job than working in a sweatshop. I think the change that needs to happen is you need to have those changeover. You need to have change in places like China where they have better working regulation. Us boycotting those products is going to make their lives better. That's a weird.
Presumably they're working.
About farms.
Well, wait. Presumably, people are working the best jobs they can, so they're choosing a job that makes the most amount of money, has the best working hours, so forth. So, if you were to boycott something like iPhones that are made by Foxconn in China, yeah, the workers are being mistreated there. But if you were to boycott them, then again, presumably they'd choose a worse job that has worse pay, worse working hours. So the only way to really deal with problems
like another thing to say about this is they don't know where those clothes came from. Like, say this hoodie I'm wearing, for example, I got it from Vinted. So I got it from someone who had already bought it. So the idea that, oh, I bought this from like that kind of condition, like though the person before me may have done so, I did not. So I haven't like funded into that. But yeah, obviously they're making a different argument. But yeah, how does it say anywhere? Oh yeah, I got this from this source. Yeah, no. How do you know it wasn't from a charity shop or what do you call them, like thrift stores in the US?
Like that is changing labor laws in those countries, not boycotting whatever product they're producing. So, like, do you have any evidence that boycotting a product like an iPhone would actually improve the working conditions for these workers?
I'm not actually advocating in favor of boycotting iPhones. I'm saying that there's blood on all our hands, figuratively speaking.
Well, the claim here is that well, wait a second. The claim here is that through our own actions, we're actually worsening the lives of somebody else. So do you have any evidence that if we were to boycott iPhones?
No, I'm not saying directly. Obviously, one person using an iPhone, not using an iPhone doesn't directly change anything. I'm talking about we're participating in a system that hurts other people. And meat is
sure.
If I stop eating meat, how's that? Do you think that's actually going to make any kind of change?
Yes, that actually is. It provably will. You will save roughly in the neighborhood of, if you eat an average amount of meat, you'll save roughly around 100 animals per year. So yes, that would make a difference.
What if you just die? How much would that save? If you just died, didn't eat anything?
Net negative for the world if you die. It's probably a net negative.
How do you know that?
Because you can do a lot of good with your life.
No. How do you know? No.
Jim Bob really doing what he does really well, where he's being really helpful to the stream of the conversation and like getting anywhere. It's like so fantastic.
I didn't ask. I asked, how do you know?
I'm telling you, yeah. The ways that you know that is because we have plenty of empirical data that shows that you can do plenty of good with your life through things like listen, Jim Bob, listen, middle of a sentence, right?
Are the audio levels okay, by the way?
So listen to the answer. If you want to hear the answer,
it's going to be a 9-minute sentence. 9 minutes.
It's not a 9-minute sentence. I talk really fast. A 9-minute sentence for you, like a 9-second sentence for me. So just listen to the answer. So the answer to your question is there are plenty of sources of empirical data that we know show that you can have a positive impact in your life. They'll be better to have you around than not have you around. Like for example, the data that GiveWell has, the amount of lives that you can save for just $3,000, right? For $3,000, you can save one human life. You make way more than $3,000 in the course of your lifetime. Clearly, you could do more good with your life than dying would do.
Would you agree that we all have blood on our hands by participating, figuratively speaking?
No.
No. Really?
No. So I like, again, Alex, if you're going to claim that we're contributing to a system that abuses other human beings through like bad labor, can you prove to me that through some means my like me buying a certain t-shirt or me buying an iPhone actually worsens their living conditions, and by me not buying those things would improve their living conditions?
Yeah. So for example, if you were to buy, instead of buying like a t-shirt that's made in a sweatshop, if you were to pay extra money and buy a t-shirt that was made ethically or soap that was made ethically, yes, it would be the same logic as you're using for the cows. You're taking away demand. You're taking away demand for something that's unethical and putting it for something that's more ethical.
So again, how would me not buying, say, an iPhone made in the factory at Foxconn where workers are being treated?
We're conflating more ethical with like not ethical with less ethical though as well. So this doesn't even make sense on that accord. Hang on, I think I'll put you on a be right back screen. There we are. Sorry, I changed my hoodie because it's getting like way too hot. Jesus.
How would that improve the lives of those workers? Because again, presumably they're working the best job that is available to them. So,
yeah. So the iPhone is a tough one because there's really not much competition. I think pretty much all of the cell phone companies do it the same way. So that's a tough one.
Well, I could just buy no cell phone. Let's assume that was the alternative.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's really practical. But if we take
sure it is. I could live without a cell phone.
Okay, fine. But if we take something more reasonable like T-shirts or soap or anything along the lines of that, yes, there's people who create that stuff ethically, and there's people who do it in sweatshops. So by taking your money out of the unethical business and putting it in an ethical business, yes, you're going to make the same difference as you would by not eating a cow. Like,
well, no, you wouldn't, because again,
crime is in eating animals, but not in any of the other.
So again, in the T-shirt analogy, if I were to stop buying unethical T-shirts, quote unquote, and buy fair trade T-shirts, how would that improve the lives of the people making the unethical quote unquote T-shirts?
Well, because the people who are making them ethically would have extra demand, so they can hire more people. So then the people who are making them unethically, those businesses will go out of business, and so they can move over to the place that's doing it ethically, right?
So all of these T-shirts that are being made in these quote unquote sweatshops, they're going to be in poor places like India. A lot of the fair trade labor is just going to be in wealthier countries like in South America. So you're not actually giving an opportunity for the laborers making T-shirts in sweatshops to actually move to another country to work in better conditions. Taking away jobs from them.
Pretty much all these countries, there's people who have businesses who do it ethically. Are you saying like in India or in China, there's no one out of like 1 billion people who manufactures things ethically? I'm sure there's a bunch.
I don't even know how you really define a sweatshop exactly, because people are going to have different levels of pay, different like hourly wages. I don't even know how exactly you're defining a sweatshop. Like, what is considered fair trade even?
I think we can all intuitively figure out what sweatshop is. We're talking about horrible.
I have a way to figure this out, Alex, and maybe
your definition of horrible may be different than mine. You may think
I have a way to bridge the gap here. Maybe get you to
like 9 hours, 10 hours a day is fine. I may think like no, 10 hours a day is too
much. Hang on, Synth. Let me finish their exchange, and I'll let you get in. Okay.
I think we can all intuitively envision the idea of like a sweatshop where people are being exploited, where people are working crazy hours, not getting paid for shit, where they're getting injured, where kids are working. I think we can all picture that.
So let's imagine, Alex, we have 2 shops in India. One is unethical and treats their workers badly, and one treats their workers much better. Now, why is it the case with the ones that treat their workers badly? Why do they have any employees at all? Why don't they just go to the ones that are treating the workers better, Alex?
Because the ones that are treating the workers better are not hiring right now, because most people
exactly
right. But if you stop buying from the place that treats their workers unethically, they'll have less money, right? So they'll either go out of business or they won't be able to hire as many people. And if you're giving your money instead to the people who are doing it ethically, now they have more money to hire people.
The shops that treat their workers more poorly are the ones that are able to sell cheaper products on average. That's the reason why countries in these really poor regions of the world generally have worse working conditions, is because they have to make ends meet over there. It's really difficult to, if it's the case that you're trying to compete with the same price points the shops in the first world or even higher end shops in places like India do. The higher end shops that have the more expensive clothes and so on, they're not able to gain as much income because people don't want to shop at the places that have more expensive goods, because not everyone has the money to. So if you want to spend your money on something that's more if that's his point, then his point doesn't make any sense anymore.
How many vegans do you think?
He's saying support the ethical one, and they'll have more money. If you keep
the ethical one
things
costs more. So you don't have it's not a one-to-one equivalency, right? You can't just take your money from the cheap place and go to
yeah, they're a pain in the ass, especially when you're trying to concentrate on multiple things. So I set myself up for failure here.
the more expensive place. No, he didn't. So you can't just take your money from. This is basic entry-level econ.
Hang on. Let's let Posh get in his what his argument is, and then Synth, I'll let you respond. Go ahead, Posh.
Right. I think this point is rather tangential, but I'm saying he said give extra money to support the ones who treat their workers better, meaning pay more for the same product, because to support the ones who treat the workers better.
So
and then
that's what you're saying doesn't work anymore. The argument no longer works. If you're the argument no longer works if you're saying you should pay.
Oh yeah, like it's a constant red herring. Like, and this kind of whataboutism that isn't even compatible with the issue.
More, right? Because now you have less money that could be going towards other things that are more good than the differences are between the different working conditions there. So the difference between the working conditions in one sweatshop in India and another sweatshop in India where the working conditions are slightly better, the difference is there in terms of the price you're paying. You are not getting as effective. It's not as effective of a chair.
What are my pronouns? She, her. People use they. I don't really care. I know I look like a they, them. I've been told many a time. So if you want to they, them me, then this is fine. I mean, even if you want to he me, I don't really mind. You know what I mean? Don't like it very much. That's a bit. I find that a bit rude myself. You know, but. All that's missing is the green hair. Yeah. Get they them. I get they them every day. And that is fine. It's fine. It's the septum piercing, you know? It really is the septum piercing. I love it. I love it. I love confusing people.
As taking that same money you could have spent and then spending it on something like GiveWell. So it makes no sense to do this.
Okay, wait,
I think it's also worth noting, by the way.
Let's say you have a business, right? Then are you okay with the business just taking all its fucking waste and dumping it in the river because it's cheaper? Well, why? It's cheaper.
Yes.
Because I want government regulations to
obviously
stop them
not
from doing that.
the-
Boycotting them wouldn't be that effective.
Let's
Boycotting them wouldn't be that effective.
assume Trump. I don't know how much I can say. Let's assume we have a president who guts all the. Well, that's kind of already happened to some extent. That gets rid of all the regulations, right? So companies actually have the option of dumping. So then you would not be okay with it, or you would be okay.
I'd probably buy the cheaper product still, and then what I would do is with my excess money is then put that towards political campaigns that can then fix those bad regulations.
Yeah, by the way, I think it's worth noting that
But you're
just
directly
because
supporting a company who's doing that. Like,
I think it's worth noting that just because working conditions are poor, it doesn't mean rights are necessarily being violated. Like buying, I don't know, from Walmart, you would imagine the workers aren't being treated as well as buying from a more high-end boutique store. So again, as long as the workers are getting paid, I don't. Again, it's hard to really make an argument that you're supporting rights violations of somebody when you buy certain clothing.
Hold on, Alex. Alex, you've been talking a lot. Just calm.
Yeah, but he's making real arguments.
Hold on, shut up, Cynthia.
Neither of you made
He's falling out. Jim Bob is falling out even with people on the side of his panel. He's just a really nice guy. You know, I get that. Whoa, why are we playing? What the hell just happened? Why did that play by itself? I don't like that shit. That shit makes me feel nervous. Why did it do that? What the hell? Excuse me. Right, can I play one-handed? No, the answer's no, I can't. What are you doing? Oh, I can play one-handed. What the fuck? I'm unbelievable. No, I'm gonna die now. No, well, yep, died. So, the verdict's in. I can't play one-handed. What did the fuck? Didn't like that. No, don't make me go back. What? No way, dude. That's so sad. That's so sad. Alex is too nice for debate. I mean, yeah, he seems nice and everything, but I'm kind of shocked by the AI wins again. Did AI wreck me? Oh, it is based. Our OP AI overlord will be it. What's based? Right. Okay, let's carry on.
Shut up! I'm talking, Sid. Shut the fuck up! I'm talking. You got upset. You got upset. I interrupted you, right?
I got interrupted.
Okay, shut the fuck up. Okay, shut the fuck up.
You're freaking the fuck out. I'm making fun of you for freaking out.
I'm trying to talk.
Hilarious.
Shut up.
I know you're freaking the fuck out.
Vegan gains. You said rights, right?
Yeah.
Don't you take the position that animals violate other animals' rights?
Yeah. Certainly.
You already know the answer.
So given all the argumentation you just had about the good and the bad and ethical and waste and all this stuff, this topical stuff you guys are talking about, the fundamental assumption underneath it that none of you vegans can justify is rights, first of all, for humans, but second, rights for animals. Like, how many of the vegans on the panel tonight are supporting the intervention of animal to animal?
What does it matter? Like, hang on. What does it matter though? Like, if you think, okay, well, we can't justify rights for humans, okay, under these frameworks, do you believe in human rights? If you do believe in human rights, then what's the morally significant difference? And so far, we've said the trait is being Homo sapien. So there's the reductios there. So what does it really matter? Like, this isn't a conversation about grounding rights. It, like, if you believe in human rights, which I don't actually know if he does, then yeah, what's the difference that's significant? That's the conversation. So why are you going here? Does he not believe in human rights?
Violence.
So do you think it's a problem when a pit bull attacks a human being?
I didn't ask for a question. I asked you.
Well,
do you
right,
want to intervene?
so
are you going to answer the question? Are you going to answer the question?
Well, I am answering it,
okay.
and I'm making a.
Oh, sorry. I understand the context now, Conan. Okay. I understand the context. I haven't seen a new video. I don't really watch Humane Hancock. What is it?
Point right now. So if a pit bull were killing like a child, so a pit bull were mauling a 3-year-old, would you want to intervene in some way?
I would intervene, yes.
Okay. Right. So would I.
Okay. I'm not talking. I said animal. What was my question?
Animal. Human beings are also animals.
Okay. So what's the meaningful distinction? So what's the meaningful distinction between an animal and a human?
if a pit bull were mauling a child, I would want to intervene, and if a pit bull were mauling another dog, I would want.
How about a crab? How about a crab?
Sure, I suppose.
You're going to intervene? You're going to intervene? How about you, Corinth? Are you going to intervene with the dog and a crab?
If it was convenient and practical, yeah.
I might intervene.
All of you are going to intervene with dog crab?
If a dog was ripping apart a poodle, I'd want to intervene.
I said crab.
I said crab. I don't care if you said crab. I answered
That's my question.
You fucking idiot.
The question is crab.
This is brain damage. The question was animal on animal violence. You also asked the crab question. You guys answered the crab question. The question was if it was convenient. The answer to your question was already given to you by two people already.
No. If it was inconvenient, would you do the moral thing and intervene?
We don't have to.
It's not the moral thing if it's impractical.
What's practical is moral?
Yes. So you have a practical duty to do what's moral. Yes.
Hold on. No, that's circular. Hold on.
Yeah, like if somebody's like drowning in and I could see them and they're out in the ocean, but then like if I can't really swim and I like or something like that, like though it would be really good for me to save them, I don't think I would really have an obligation. I like obviously there's going to be variations of the hypothetical where I'm like, okay, yeah, you are obligated. Like say you have a freaking like say you have a fully functioning boat and it can go at high speeds and you're the only one with a boat and everything like that, then maybe I'd go as far as to say, yeah, no, you actually have the obligation. You're the person. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, no, if it's like it's not something that's practical, it's like quite unattainable. Like you would go out of your way to the point where like you might sacrifice your own life. Oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going invisible. You can't see me. You can't see me.
Hold on, that's totally circular.
That's not circular.
Yeah, it is.
Circular. You don't know what
watch.
I'll clarify
let me respond
for you.
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
clarify my position for you. I don't feel that there's any moral duty to intervene. I think the only moral duty you have is to not violate the rights of others. So if you see a pit bull mauling a 3-year-old, I don't think you have any kind of duty to intervene. But if you do, that's a moral good. But I don't think you have any moral duty to do so.
So you're describing it as a good, but you ought not, or it doesn't matter. There's no ought you're saying in your system.
Yeah, in my view, so long as you're not the one attacking the child, then that's fine. But if you're witnessing a rights violation, it's a moral good to intervene, but you don't have to, in my opinion. So I think that'll clear up some of the things.
Thank you. And Synth, you said what's practical is good, and I said, well, practical is given by goals, right? And goals are arbitrary.
No, goals are not arbitrary.
Goals are not arbitrary?
No, I'm a moral realist. Vegan gains is obstructed. Listen to the answer. Listen to the answer. No, you hold on. Listen to the answer. You ask.
Goals are not arbitrary.
Goals are not arbitrary. You freak out because somebody's answering your question.
Because it's so fucking stupid.
Listen. Everything you said is stupid. You have a double-digit IQ. There's no reason for you to call other people stupid. Listen to answer your question. Listen. Yeah, I know you're having trouble tracking because I talk fast and you think slow. Calm down. Listen. Relax. It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Jim Bob is so cringe. Oh my God, I'm gonna die.
You have a whole panel, Jim Bob.
Tell me how goals are not.
Jim Bob is having the ethics divinely revealed to him on the spot as we speak.
Listen,
Jim Bob, don't have to tell you anything. I'm telling you the last answer to your question. I'm telling you the last answer to your question.
I let it go, guys. I let the exchange go. By the way, I love this shit. We all know we love this shit, but let's back off because now, no, it's incoherent. People can't understand. Synth, we'll start with you to answer the question. Go ahead.
Sure. So the reason why goals are not arbitrary, and the reason why I, as a moral realist, don't think so, is because I don't think that goals can be coherent if they're arbitrary ones. I think that goals have to be grounded in a realist ethic. Now, if you're not a realist, if you have the same position Vegan Gains does, then you can say goals are arbitrary, but Vegan Gains ethics and mine are different. It's just that from a moral realist perspective and from a subjectivist perspective, no matter what your meta ethic is, you should be able to converge in the obviously correct conclusion, which is veganism. And go ahead and ask your next question, Jim Bob.
So how are goals not arbitrary?
I just answered this question.
No, you just
use
claimed,
your memory to remember what I just said.
How? You just claimed that they are again.
Because they have to be grounded in a realist ethic. Do you pay attention?
Okay, so my goal, let's take two separate goals.
No, I did answer, just for the record. You asked that question after I already answered it, right?
I need clarification.
Yeah, and it was really stupid of you to do that, right?
Calm down.
I'm pretty calm, right? You've been spazzing the entire debate, right? I'm just bossing you around now because you're a dumbass.
You can't do it.
You're getting piped down because you're getting bitch made. You're getting bitch made by a vegan.
There you go. Just keep avoiding.
You're getting bossed around. Every time I talk, you pipe down like a bitch.
Are you ready to listen?
I've been ready this entire debate, but you've got no arguments whatsoever. The only person on your team who's made any arguments whatsoever has been Alex so far. What you've done so far is spaz out and get angry.
You're going to keep.
I'm not going to let you do anything. I'm not going to let you do anything.
Here you go. So I have a goal.
I'm letting you.
If I have
I love you, buddy.
If I have a goal that's different than yours, and my goal is to eat meat this week, and yours isn't, how is it that these contradictory goals are not arbitrarily developed?
So I don't think that your goal is coherent. I don't think you have a goal there.
Whether something's coherent and whether it's arbitrary are not the same definitions.
Yeah, I didn't say it was.
You just did. Yeah, you just did.
Repeat back to me what I just said.
I just said, how is it my arbitrary?
No, not what you just said. What I just said.
You said because they're not coherent.
You don't remember?
Your goal's not coherent.
No.
That's what you said. Your goal is not coherent.
I'll repeat it back to you again. The reason... Oh, what's up, man? So the reason why the reason why it's important that your goal isn't coherent, the reason why I tied that back to the argument that you forgot, is because if your goal is not coherent, then you don't have a goal at all. You have no goal.
What?
There. The only way you can have a goal is to have a coherent one. If what you're saying is incoherent...
We're watching the 3v3 debate on the Crucible with, like, Vegan Gains, Synth, Corinth, and on the other side we have the posh redneck, Alex from the Red Pill community, and fucking Jim Bob.
You're not saying
it's on veganism and like the ethics and the health. Who says vegans can't concentrate? Deep concentration phase right now. Yeah, I am multitasking pretty heavily right now. I feel like nobody wants to hear my freaking my book. I'm telling you, I'm giving you little book snippets every 60 quid. Every 60 quid. Okay? It's a sick deal. I mean, I guess it's not, but if people are going to tip anyway, then I guess it's kind of, you know. I might go work on it a bit more tonight because I really need to. I haven't worked on the book for a couple of days. I'm getting through it. I'm getting through. So
at all.
Can I
making word sounds?
Okay. Can I have a goal to be Can I have a goal to be incoherent? As incoherent as possible?
Can you have the goal
can I have
to be incoherent?
Yeah, yes.
Can you have the goal? Under what modal scope?
Under what modal scope? I asked you. Under yours.
I'm asking you. I don't have a modal scope.
Can I have a goal? You can't answer a simple question.
I'm asking you a clarification of your question.
Okay. This is a simple question. Can I have a goal to be incoherent this week?
Go ahead and answer the question that I just asked you as a clarification of that.
Is it a modal scope? Is it a modal scope?
I didn't ask you, is it a modal scope?
Just answer the fucking question, dude.
I don't know what your question is.
Can we get
clarification?
How do you not know the question? Can I have a goal?
Because I need clarification. Can you logically? Can you physically? Physically, you can have a goal. Logically, you can have a goal.
Can I have
morally,
a goal?
no, you can't have a goal. Morally, no, you can't have the goal to be incoherent.
I didn't ask morally. I said.
Yeah, that's why I asked you to clarify the modal scope. You didn't clarify the modal scope, that's why I asked you, dummy.
Can I have a goal to be completely logically inconsistent this week?
You just asked that question several times in a row.
And what's
I answered your question.
Is it a yes or a no?
I just told you I gave you a bunch of different modals, dumbass. Under a bunch of different modal scopes that you could have been using. I gave you the answer to your question.
It's a yes
or
no.
I gave you 3 yes or no's depending on what you meant, dumbass.
Enough. We're not getting anywhere here with this.
Brain damage, Ron.
Okay, but we're not getting anywhere.
Hang on. To shift it somewhere.
Yeah,
go ahead.
sure.
Go ahead.
Can I go after Posh? Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask the vegan side?
Ian_the_pig the lad tipped £10. Already watched you write it, but here's some whitewashing money to make others enjoy it as well.
Wait, you haven't been there, Ian, while I've been writing it. I go to the cafe. You know this. I go to the cafe and I sit there. I can't write here. Spider-Man just revealed his face to his friend. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the tip. Yeah, I'd like to read. What bit would I like to read? I mean, it's short, but I want to read the habits bit. Maybe socialization. Yeah, I could do socialization. Yeah. Thank you so much for the tip. I do appreciate it.
Do you season your food?
Yeah.
Why?
To make it taste better.
All right. Are you aware of the fact that you need entire industry?
And it might be worth pointing out that, like, non-vegans season their food as well. Like, not to where this is probably going. But I love it when people say, oh, vegan food tastes horrible. And it's like, mate, it's the herbs, spices, the oils and everything that you put on foods that are doing so much of the work. Like, you can't find my pigeons. I don't want to do that one. Stuck on a skyscraper. That seems kind of urgent, really, doesn't it?
Trees and transport and all sorts of industries to produce these, and that you are damaging the planet and are also bringing, depending on what type of seasoning you use, bringing all sorts of animals to the peril of death. You're condemning them to death. If you use sugar, especially, you're going to need a lot of agriculture, and that's never good for a whole host of animals. So why would you not sacrifice seasoning?
Is every argument you guys gonna make going to be too quick? Like every
are you going to dodge every fucking thing we say?
Hang on.
It's like you haven't made any arguments.
It's not too quoque because I don't feel condemned by your condemnation. So I'm saying, why wouldn't you apply what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're
what
not.
I'm saying is,
I can answer that. So I'm not a consequentialist. It's entirely possible that, say, something you do could produce more harm. Doesn't necessarily you're violating rights. So
it necessarily produces harm, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
well, no, I wouldn't even say it necessarily produces harm.
Cultivating sugar does not necessarily kill animals.
Yeah, make
well,
an argument
no, it
for
doesn't
that.
necessarily. It very likely will end up killing some animals through some sort of process of manufacturing, but I don't consider those deaths rights violations. Yeah, I don't consider those deaths rights violations.
What's the difference? What's the difference to the cow if it was murdered through accident, or was like if it it's still dead?
Yeah,
it's not even by accident. Sorry, Alex.
God, this is going all over the place. We're getting like so many like extra topics in one go. Jesus Christ, it's a shit show. Like, it's just like that. Why don't you just focus on like one thing? Like, I really like it when I'm discussing with somebody, just to keep it so streamlined, so that we can just deal with the problem as we go along. We can find out what the fuck's going on. This is a mess.
Posh, let Vegan answer the question. You guys just constantly talk over the other side and complain you're getting interrupted. Pipe down, Posh. Let Vegan answer.
Hang on.
Okay, let the other side answer.
So incidental death.
Yeah, Alex is holding them back, to be honest.
Alex's qualification, it's not accidental. It's a necessary consequence of having industry
and
transport.
It's
not accidental. It's a necessary. It's not direct, but it's indirect.
Wait. I want to clarify. I want you to clarify. When humans get killed from crossing the street and getting hit by a car, is that an intentional death?
No, I'm saying indirect. So I'm saying if you get incredibly drunk and start driving, you are putting people in danger. But even that does not necessarily result in the death of animals, but agriculture does result in the death of animals. So
but if you're drunk while you're driving, the responsibility changes like tremendously. You have impaired your like ability to be safe. So then there can be an onus on you. Like, that's completely different. Why would you bring that up? Oh God, pain everywhere.
Death of people.
So hang on one second. I have to point something out. Posh just lost 5 man points because he got smoke eye. I had to point that out. I saw that, Posh. You didn't get it past me, fucker. Anyway, go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
Fenian. But also, I'm saying, yes, with transport, you will get human deaths, but not necessarily. But you will necessarily get death from agriculture, animal death from agriculture. You need pesticides. You need to keep away all sorts of pests.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Huge fluffy ones.
Well, violation.
Yeah, and it's not even to mention that there are methods that could be implemented that would avoid those, but you're not going to see that in a world that isn't vegan. Who's going to care about those? Like, who's going to care about insects more so than probably vegans? They're probably going to be the ones who are like, yeah, we should probably like implement these methods, use technology in order to ensure that like no animals are killed in the process, and we do everything we need to do, like, or we deter them in some way. We use some sort of technology that doesn't even exist yet in order to repel them. Like, no matter what, they will not come here. Like, is it so out of the scope that those things could like exist and they would be pushed for in a world that is vegan? They're not going to be pushed for in a world where people think, oh, I know, slitting animals' throats for a sandwich, that's fine.
I think Posh is actually making an interesting point that I haven't thought about. Like, you guys don't want direct animal deaths, which I understand from your philosophy why you don't want that, but it seems like you're completely okay with indirect animal deaths that are not necessary, because for something like spices or sugar, you don't have to eat that, right? That's not
for the sake of taste buds, by the way.
Yeah, it's just so you're not okay with people killing animals directly.
Well, spices do have health benefits, so you could argue.
Let's take sugar, something that you do not need to put in your diet. So you're not okay with people killing animals to please their taste buds directly, but if they're doing it like they're buying sugar and that kills animals, that's okay. Like, I don't understand what's the difference if the
so again, in one instance, some of these deaths are going to be with pesticides. So I would just consider that as protecting property from. You could say what is equivalent to a burglar. The only practical way to deal with certain insects is to, again, use pesticides. There are some pesticides used against like birds, but they don't actually kill. They just taste bad to the birds. They have like some weird grape flavor that birds don't like. I know that's a pesticide that's commonly used.
None of that answers the question. If all you vegans, you stopped eating sugar, you could save a lot of animals.
Yes, yeah, again, I don't consider those deaths a rights violation, and there is such thing as veganic farming. It's not very common right now, but it is a method of farming that eliminates animal deaths. I would like to use something like that in the future. Sorry?
Sure. But what's the difference between the
how so?
Yes, how do they?
So they just use different methods. There are like sometimes
that actually sounded like a genuine question.
It's a complete enclosure, so animals literally cannot get to whatever's being grown. So when you don't need to use something like pesticides, you don't have any animals get into the plant. So when you like harvest them, no like field animals could get killed. There are things like that.
All right.
Ideally, we would use that sort of farming, but again, I'm not a consequentialist.
Oh yeah, there definitely needs to be technology like on roads in order to you know, ensure that animals like don't cross over. You know, like for example, I think they were doing it with elephants. Obviously a bigger animal, like a different kind of issue. But they were like building tunnels for them under the road so that they could cross. And if you build tunnels, that is one way of like giving animals an ability to like go underneath. But this is only gonna be for some species of animal. Like, is a deer gonna be able to get like below the tunnel? I don't think so. So yeah, obviously it's hard to talk about technology that doesn't exist. I could imagine, you know, with some innovation, with some incentive, we could make amazing things in order to, you know, protect those animals and make sure that they aren't privy to like going on the roads.
I would prefer that sort of farming be used because it would reduce deaths. So that would be a moral good, but I consider it morally new.
Dad the lad tipped £3. Are you winning, son?
I think I'm winning. I think so. I'm getting through the game. I'm getting through the game. Thank you so much, Dad the lad. Very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you to anyone who supports my content. You keep the ball rolling so I can just like, you know, moan every day. As I said earlier, Sean Baker responded to me. Dr. Sean Baker. So that's a video coming out about that tomorrow. Funny shit. Thank you for the tip. Salads in the chat. Salads.
Neutral if animals do die from incidental deaths on a farm. So I don't consider those deaths rights violations. So I don't have a problem.
Right. I'm having a hard time understanding.
Sorry, just let me finish my line of argumentation. I'm sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead.
But you're also implementing a lot of industry when it comes to processing, you know, sugar and salt and all the other spices, and transport, which require fossil fuels. If not so, then electricity, which also needs to be produced and is also problematic for, depending on what type, can also cause a lot of harm. In fact, does cause a lot of harm to the environment. So again, it would seem to me that if you wish to be consistent, you would wish to minimize.
Why are you talking about the environment? Oh, I guess Corinth brought up the environment, didn't he?
Any type of animal death, unless it's necessary. And this is completely unnecessary. It is merely for the sake of pleasure.
Yeah, you're not understanding my ethical values. I just told you I don't consider these deaths rights violations. It would be a moral good to say, I guess, not buy certain spices at least, like sugar, because you would reduce like transport deaths or something like that. But I don't consider these rights violations. So what I'm a deontologist. I don't really focus on the consequence of my actions. I just think about not violating the rights of others. And since I don't see how I'm violating the rights of others,
so
I just don't see these deaths as a problem.
So if industrialists refuse to put certain filters on their plants.
By the way, not spawn or anything, but if you would like a social network dedicated to vegans, then there is veganism.social. I'm on it if you follow me over there. That's where I just like talk normally and shit. But yeah, if you want somewhere where you can talk to more vegans, that is the place to be.
And that causes damage to the
Maybe I should get them to spawn me. Then I can go wild on it.
surrounding population. You would not see that as a problem.
So yeah, that could be considered a rights violation if the degree of harm gets to a point where it could be considered a violation of rights. You could argue. So there are standards for industry to put smokestacks at a certain height, to use filters on emissions, stuff like that.
Yes, and
but something like that. But again, some like these sorts of things are things that are going to be controlled with regulation, not from boycott.
But again, you're sort of saying you want the government to do it. I understand that. But on the other hand, I'm saying it's superfluous. It's completely unnecessary.
Wait,
and if you
what?
wish to make an exception for medical reasons, then you can do that.
But
you're
he's
sort of
already
saying, no,
explained
it's
he's a
generally acceptable,
consequentialist.
and one should not care about the
So,
consequences.
not-
No, if I want to open a
no
plant and it's very
necessity
profitable
wouldn't
for
be.
me, and I treat my employees well, so be it if people around in the neighborhood, you know, suffer all sorts of, you know, get all sorts of diseases from being exposed to the toxins.
Sorry, what type of plant are we talking about?
Any type of industrial plant. You can have. So, for example, not very near, but not too far away from my home city, there's a pesticide plant.
Okay.
And you can imagine that's not a particularly healthy place to live.
Yeah, I've not seen any evidence that pesticide exposure is harmful to humans. But if we're talking about industrial plants that have pose health risks to humans, the biggest one would probably be animal agriculture. Especially pig farms. So they literally spray shit into the air. People who are
let me squeeze one more thing because I think it goes directly in your point. So I'm a little confused. Why is an animal dying from a burger, or me or Posh eating a burger, worse than an animal dying from manufacturing sugar? Either way, that animal's right to life was violated. So why is the burger death worse than the sugar death?
So if you look at the amount of deaths that occurred from traffic accidents, I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40,000 in the United States per year. So you would only need a few decades to actually match the amount of deaths in the Holocaust. So do you think there's a difference between the murders in the Holocaust versus the road accidents, the deaths from road accidents?
Can we just use a different word than that? Whatever.
Not that you can tell us.
Whatever different word you want.
We can use the word. Because most of the deaths from car accidents, unless someone was drunk, were unavoidable. It was like an accident, something happened. Versus sugar can absolutely be avoided. Right? It's not necessary for you to eat sugar. It's probably better that you don't. So 100% avoidable.
So
I wouldn't even believe that intuitively. Like, I know a big problem with driving is people driving while they're tired, and arguably, though you might need to get somewhere, if you're so tired that you shouldn't be driving, there is an onus there of like, drunk driving is a massive issue as well. I don't know how many of them like were unavoidable, like, text driving. There's so many ways people are they recklessly drive. I don't know how many of there would be an accident. I would have to like look into data on that, right?
No, I don't know how you can make that claim. Like, again, there's 30 to 40,000 traffic deaths per year. I don't know how you could claim that's all of those are avoidable.
I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying a good amount of them are unavoidable. And the ones where someone is drunk, that's why we put those people to jail. You drink and drive, right?
Well, sure.
And we're like, hey, that's wrong, and you're going to go to jail for that.
Yeah, again, what type of deaths are you talking about, like, to produce sugar? Like, what exactly are you talking about?
I'm just piggybacking on what Posh Redneck said. I don't know specifically.
Yeah, but, like, are we talking about from pesticides? Are we talking about, like, mechanical harvesting equipment, killing an animal? Like, what are we talking about?
Why would it matter? The cow is dead, and it could have been avoided.
Okay, like, the one requires the explicit rights of the animal to be taken away, and they're getting systematically bred into existence and then murdered. Versus an incidental.
Why would this even matter anyway? Like, the problems that you have with these things are going to be amplified on a diet consisting of the bodies and secretions of animals. Like, I'm very much doubting you're going to get rid of sugar. So you're going to be eating sugar, and then you're going to be eating animals and their secretions. So it's like the problems that you have are going to be exacerbated on the diet that you decide to have. So any issue that you take with it, it's going to be more of an issue like under your own behavior. I just don't get it. It doesn't compute for me why people do this. Obviously it's because they don't understand that, but
death where the animal could have moved out of the way. They could have chosen.
We're not talking about something.
Yeah, it's quite hard. Like when you are you have a job and you're like, you can't just be like, sorry, I'm sleepy, then you'll lose your job. So you could make an argument from like necessity there. But like, I've even been in the car with people who have been like, I am too tired to drive, and then they just want to go to the shop or something. And it's like, you've had 2 hours sleep, you probably shouldn't actually be driving. Like, you probably, like, if you did get into an accident, would have responsibility. Yeah.
Someone running into an animal. We're talking about cows or animals, whatever animals they use, being used in like doing like fucking 20 hours a day of like manual work and carrying big loads.
What are you talking about?
We're not talking.
We don't harvest sugar.
Hang on, guys. Wait, Alex, you two, listen. Because it's kind of become a bit of a 2v1 pylon. Please give Vegan Gains a chance to answer your questions before you give follow-up questions. Go ahead, Vegan Gains.
Yeah, so I just want you to clarify what deaths in the sugar industry you're talking about. So are we talking about deaths from pesticide use? Are we talking about deaths from mechanical farming equipment running over an animal?
Yeah.
Are we talking about sugar being transported?
I think
So,
Posh
like,
can answer that question better because I was just piggybacking off his
Yeah,
point.
so any of those, but
Any
we're
of
not
them?
talking about
So then they're
about
different.
you
They're
having a
they're
garden to
categorized
sustain yourself.
differently.
Right, we're talking about, that's why I specifically mentioned spices.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to say why do you have
Well, even in the garden to sustain yourself, you'd probably end up killing animals. You know, probably squish some bugs and everything.
potatoes, right? You need to eat something, lest you die. So that's
Well-
why I'm saying, if you're going to have sugar, I could also say, why do you fry your food? If you fry your food, you need to get oil. If you want to have oil, you need to get plants to extract the oil from. And you also
Yeah, but hang on, like, if you did, this is why you need the calculus on this, because things like sugar and oil are really high calorie sources. It could be the case that because they're such high calorie sources that like on like in the number of deaths they actually end up being less. This is why I just don't care for these conversations unless someone can just show, okay, well, we know that approximately for every square acre of sugar, this has led to like 80 like, until I see that, I just have no interest. And then obviously someone very smart would do some sort of calculation, you know, in reference to the calories, and then see, oh, okay, well, actually this one would be preferable. These things are important, you know.
have the same problem, right? If you just boiled your food and not seasoned it, you would have a far smaller impact on your environment. A lot fewer animals would die, and you would still not lose anything in terms of sustenance.
I
only
understand.
taste and preference.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, and I already answered. I'm not a consequentialist. So I'm not looking to reduce the amount of harm I'm committing to the absolute greatest extent. I am only trying to avoid violating the rights of other beings. So if I buy sugar from a factory that got their sugar from a plant that uses mechanical farming equipment that, I don't know, ran over a rabbit, I don't consider that a rights violation. That's just an incidental death similar to a death that you'd maybe see in a traffic accident.
Okay, but if we wish to analogize it to a traffic accident, would you remove breathalyzers, for example, and, you know, punishing people for driving drunk?
No.
Where's the connection?
Well, because I would consider that a rights violation. Through clear actions you committed, you were driving so dangerously to where your actions basically practically intentionally caused a death.
The hell was that question?
But that's what I'm saying. You know, you're doing something completely unnecessary and endangering other living beings. And people would have a much closer understanding of the value of humans and animals. If you wish, non-human animals. I'm trying to be very colloquial about it. But why? Why?
So again,
I know it increases the chance, and that would be the same thing.
I
wanting agriculture for pleasure.
Yeah, so again, I think I've answered this well enough, and if you can't understand,
like
I think we should
5
just
times
move on.
he's gonna say
again,
I'm not
if you were to say get into a car, drive drunk, or drive blindfolded,
this again.
that sort of action is so negligent that you could argue the outcome of that is intentional. The chances of you running somebody over, getting into an accident, or killing somebody are so high, and your actions are so negligent that the reason we consider that criminal is because that action basically intentionally led to harm or death. Again, if you are farming and it's for the purpose of like producing food or producing sugar or what have you, any agricultural product, that's not negligence. So if an animal were, say, in like the bushes or something, not moving out of the way of mechanized farming equipment, it's not really the person's fault. There's no like active negligence on their part. So I don't consider that a rights violation.
Why not say the same thing about humans not moving out of the way of a car?
Well, yeah. Well, certainly,
if it's jaywalking
at night,
you would say that.
I understand, but also drunk people run over people who are on the pavement, not necessarily.
And that's
which is the vegan game's point. Is why that's wrong. Right? Why you're violating people's rights by being drunk. You're not attacking at all. You're violating somebody's rights by being drunk. You're not violating somebody's rights by not being drunk.
What if he understands? Then why is he even saying these things? It's quite clear. Like the whole driving analogy is really helpful in like, you know, who's responsible, like what responsibility was taken and stuff like that, and accountability. I really like it for that reason, because if you're driving on the fucking pavement, of course it's going to be different than someone driving on the road. It's dark, you can't really see anything. Someone's walking around, they haven't got any like, they're just wearing clothes where like they're not even black, so you just can't even see, you can't see them at all. And they've taken some level of responsibility to be a bit visible, you know, in the dark, and then someone doesn't see them, they knock them over and kill them. Like, this one's gonna be difficult because I have to hear. So this is gonna be. Oh well, that was easier than I thought it'd be. Yeah, I don't get it, dude. I don't get it.
In your car normally.
If you reduced the area you needed for agriculture, a lot fewer animals would.
Well, yeah, you
find
would.
themselves
And
in a
again, if you're going to use that
predicament
argument,
where they would be destroyed by mechanized farming.
Yeah, so we could use.
Miles is the cooler spider fellow. Yeah, I do like him, but my heart will always be for Peter Parker. You know,
less agricultural land than we use today if we move to a completely plant-based food system.
And even further, if you gave up on sugar and oil.
No, I don't see how that would be the case because those are calorie sources.
Right.
Yeah, the calorie sources.
Never mind. You don't need sugar.
Well, you don't need any particular food.
You do need
exactly, but you don't need sugar.
Yeah, but you do need calories, right? You're interested in calorie intake. You want that energy. And yeah, like what Vegan Gains said, and I said earlier, like it could be the case that something like sugar or oil, because they are really high calorie sources, they could end up causing less deaths. So actually, it could be, put more sugar in if that's your interest. So again, like just kind of talking about this without any data is just kind of boring. Not gonna lie. Don't really know what to say. Yo, DGN.
Hang on, gentlemen. Listen, we're an hour in. I'm going to move the topic along so that we can get to some of these other kind of segments here. Okay, we are going to move this back into ethics a little bit later in the debate. I promise all of you that. In about a half hour, we'll move into that. But for now, kind of staying within the line, this is something which does come up. And again, this is a broad topic. Corinth, you need to shut the fuck up. You've been talking way too much tonight, and I'm sick of you already. Now, moving into this, try to understand that one of the huge things which is very contentious here, and I've heard this many times from Carnus, is kind of this field death operation around animals. Is it really more merciful to the animals, based on, this type of cropping and sharecropping and things like this? This is a good segue, I think, into that particular topic, considering that we started with the spices. I'm going to let the vegan side open. Corinth, who has not shut up the entire night, we're going to start with you.
You haven't heard much from Corinth.
Let's see where this goes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when we're talking about things like moles, voles, and roly-poles getting torn apart by the tractors, it's generally going to be necessary either on a Carnus.
Roly-polies are what Americans call woodlice, right? Roly-poles? Is that what that is?
System or a vegan system.
Are
so
they
if we're looking at
woodlice?
Consequentialism, it's not going to lower the necessary amount of deaths by just saying you're being vegan. And that's the issue that this criticism generally runs into. You need to end up starting to implement systems of entirely going onto pasture-raised farming and or grass-raised farming, and that's generally just not the case that we end up being seen, and it's just used as a two-coque fallacy.
But Corinth, do you not see the point of me bringing up spices specifically? Because you don't need them. You don't need salt.
We're not consequentialists.
Yes, you do need.
No, I am.
No, I'm sorry.
There's a difference in the views
I've asked Corinth just to hear his perspective. I've heard yours. We disagree, but I've heard it. So
Okay.
I'd like to hear his. So do you not see why I mentioned things like sugar, things like oil? Right here in Eastern Europe, the basic source of oil is sunflower seeds. Right? We get a lot of fields of sunflowers. If we only boiled our food, we wouldn't need any of those.
The consequentialist argument is just as simple as the consequentialist argument is just as simple as the threshold deontologist. Just that the amount of good that you get from things like sugar are going to outweigh the very small amounts of damage that you've done. In terms of listen. The very small amounts of damage that you incur on those animals, the benefits you get are obvious. They taste good, right? The good taste of sugar is very likely even to be outweighing whatever good is going to happen on those animals' lives. It's not clear to me that the animals in the wild have net positive lives. I think that the average life of roly-poly being digested in someone else's stomach acid at the end of its life or starving to death if it's lucky, that doesn't seem very good to me. It might be a much worse death than just getting eaten and mulled away by a tractor. If you're a hardcore active-utilitarian consequentialist and not a threshold deontologist like Vegan Gains is, then it's the case that under those systems, it's still going to be justified. It's just as justified. Because his life would be miserable otherwise.
I also want to point out that if you actually look at data calculating field animal deaths, it's shockingly low. Like practically zero animals die from mechanized farming equipment. They usually actually die from getting predated upon. And what's interesting too is if you're talking about grass-fed, pasture-raised animals, that actually ends up killing a lot of field animals because cows, goats, these grazing animals will eat certain grasses that a lot of animals use for shelter and cover from, say, like birds or snakes. And then when those grasses are eaten away, they can't hide in these fields anymore, and then they get eaten more by other predatory animals.
I understand, but that's not my point. What I'm doing is making an internal critique. I don't care, to be perfectly honest. We can get to why. I don't care that cows, graze on more insects than you would otherwise. What I'm saying is you don't really need. That's why I'm focusing on things you don't need.
I think we can, maybe clear this up from both the consequentialist and deontological, argument we're having here. Do you have any evidence whatsoever that fewer animals die as a result of not having this agricultural land? Because I'm not even convinced that fewer animals die on, I don't know, a square mile of sugar field versus a square mile of wilderness. Do you have any evidence of that?
Yeah, I
I'm saying you're not actually. Sorry, Alex. I'll just say this: you're not intervening in the wilderness. You're not.
Yeah, no, answer the question though.
Well,
right?
If it makes no difference.
To be honest, I'm not sure that anyone's ever studied.
Square
mile of nothing.
I just quickly looked it up, and this has been studied. And yes,
okay, sorry.
I looked into sugar farming. And yes, sugar farming, which a lot of it is done in the Amazon, does kill a lot of animals.
That's not the question.
Yeah, but versus wildlife. So a lot of these animals are predated
more than wildlife, right, which is why a lot of these animals are now endangered.
But if they're endangered, that means less deaths are happening. So that doesn't make much sense. You have to say that there are more populations, that there's more deaths. If it's the case, there's a constant population, the same number of deaths.
What?
No,
if there is a constant population, the same number of deaths.
Yes,
the animals die in the wild.
If you commit a genocide, there's going to be fewer and fewer people to genocide.
Yeah, if you have a genocide, if you have a genocide that's happening because of the fact that you're killing them, that would work. If it's the case that you're having a genocide because there's less land for them to breed on, it no longer works as an argument. You can't say there's more deaths caused.
Alex, wait, I think you're misunderstanding. The data that I need, I want you to calculate the total amount of deaths that are happening within a given field versus the amount of deaths happening within a given same square area of wilderness.
But there's also no such thing as a field.
I don't think I could do
sure, but
study on that. But wait, I just want to quickly address what Synth was saying. So what happens is when an animal becomes in danger, a lot of them die. The government jumps in and starts protecting them, right? So then it becomes a little bit of a different. So the government doesn't protect animals when there's a bunch of them. They start protecting them when there's barely any left. So that's the
sure, but I don't see any particular reason to believe that more animals are dying within a square mile of sugarcane field versus a square mile of wilderness. Because a lot of these animals that are dying, they're either insects that only live maybe a month or two anyway, or they're these field animals I don't know, rabbits or something that again don't live very long either. They usually get predated upon or suffer from some sort of disease or something. So where's the evidence that more animals are even dying in these fields?
I can post some articles, but do you intuitively think that if scenario number one, the wild in the Amazon stays as is, scenario two, the sugarcane plantation comes in and gets 100 acres and whatever, puts fertilizer and all that shit in there. Do you think really that both of them are going to be the same in terms of animals deaths? You don't think that a fucking sugar farm?
I have no idea. I would assume they're going to be different. I have no idea if it's less or more deaths. Right? That's what I'm asking you. Let's just ask the question directly. If I buy a pound of sugar from the store, how many more animals were killed as opposed to if I didn't buy that pound of sugar?
I don't think there's a good answer to that, but I can post some articles.
Yeah, that's not a good answer.
This is outside my area of expertise.
Yeah,
does anybody on the other side have an area?
No, because as I said, there is no such thing as a field because you can go into a meadow.
No, I didn't ask a field. I'm asking pound of sugar. No, I was asking for if I buy 1 pound of sugar versus if I don't. How many more animals die?
Okay, so here's a quote. In the last 11 years, sugarcane production has increased. There's no official data concerning animals killed in this process.
Wait, who wrote the article? Wait, who wrote the article?
Let me just finish. As I will explain below, we can estimate that thousands, even millions of animals have been killed directly.
He sounded like a turkey.
Yeah, I think this. This is the what's the original source and who wrote the paper?
Oh my god.
I think it's the Stephen Davies article. It was actually debunked and it's wrong.
It's Dr. Carlo Guterres.
Okay, that's not the original source. Where are you finding this?
I can post the link. It's called fanalytics.org.
Okay, so this might get ground to dance to.
If you want to put that in the private chat, I'll put it up so that they can all have access to it.
Right. But, let's say hypothetically, we could prove that more animals die.
More than what?
Would you therefore, if you ate sugar, right, for your pound of sugar, if that contributed, because we all know that's not how actual economies work. We talk about demand and
you just need to know the cumulative. Yeah, you just need to know the CEV. Just give me the CEV of a pound of sugar in terms of animal deaths caused. Right? Just give me the cumulative.
If we can prove that, would you then change it?
If you can prove how much, it depends, right? If you say that one roly-poly died in the bag of sugar, then I think it's probably the case that on utilitarian grounds, more good comes out of that bag of sugar in terms of taste.
I don't see how pleasure is a good outside of personal preference.
Yeah, you disagree, but you're making internal critique.
You can even make that argument. It's a really heavy calorie source, so it can come in handy. And yeah, it's a taste thing as well, but that's not the only thing. If you have people who are starving, you want to give them high calorie sources, right? Do you not want to do that?
Doesn't matter what you think, right? You're making an internal critique, you said.
Okay, but
So how many animals would need to die per pound of sugar?
Yes,
if a cow died per pound of sugar, then I would be like, that's pretty bad. If a human died per pound of sugar, I'd be like, that's like insanely bad.
Okay.
So it just depends on which animal. I know it depends on which animal. Humans are a type of animal. Cows are a type of animal. Pigs are a type of animals. Roly-polies are a type of animals. Some are more valuable to me than others.
How many insects would need to die?
It would depend on the insects, but if you say like a roly-poly, quite a lot.
Like
and it would
see,
be,
like,
I
again,
actually don't know what a roly-poly.
How many roly-polies need to die for you to stop eating sugar?
if you told me that a billion
no one-
roly-polies died, I'd stop
So
eating
again,
sugar.
no one's actually provided evidence that more
No.
animals are
So why are
actually
we talking
dying due
about
to
it?
sugarcane production
That's an article.
than otherwise would say in the wild. And again, that's not an original source. That's just an article on a blog.
So
I'd
what
like
would
to
you
see
say
an
on
original source.
direct involvement?
Like,
Sorry?
what kind of source do you need to see?
What would you say with
Like
with
the actual
critique of
source
direct
itself,
involvement?
so we know what you're talking about.
What
But
directed?
it doesn't matter. Like, if humans didn't exist, all types of animals would die, right?
But there's no argument here anymore. Like, if you can't answer how many animals are going to die from a pound of sugar, even having an approximate answer, if you can't give me an estimate, then there's just no argument at all you guys have. You're just asking a bunch of weird, irrelevant hypotheticals, like how many would need to die. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Some,
you know,
a billion would be enough.
Directly-
One wouldn't be.
directly involved in the deaths of these animals.
Yeah. So
Again,
so I
if
can
you
answer
run
that.
over a person,
So
if
yeah,
you
I
run-
personally can answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
go ahead.
So even if we're directly involved in the deaths, I don't consider us committing a rights violation, and especially when you consider like no one's provided sufficient evidence that more deaths are even occurring as a result of us, growing
like,
sugarcane.
so why should we be
I
interested?
especially have a lack of interest because, yeah, I might have an interest in preventing deaths, but if I make an effort to boycott sugarcane and try to reduce the amount of sugarcane being made, and that
Hey,
wouldn't
Molly.
even attain the goal I have of reducing deaths, why would I have an interest in doing it?
Okay, what kind of evidence would you need to see? You didn't like my article, so what
Yeah.
kind of evidence would you need to see?
Yeah, so first of all, I want you to provide original sources. What you did was you provided an article written by an anonymous author. I think there wasn't an
No,
author
his
mentioned.
name is like right at the top.
Well, okay. Well, let me see. In his blog, yeah, So this is just a blog article. This is his opinion, and he links references, but I want to see original sources. So
Well,
the original
click
source
on
would be
the
some of the
references.
evidence. So yeah, some
Well,
of the
yeah,
original
which
sources would be the
ones
evidence
do you
like
want to
that is
show?
maybe linked in the article. But if you're going to use original sources, like I think all of you, if you're going to make this argument, you just need to spend more time researching and bring together the data, because what the evidence we need is you need to show the deaths actually caused by the agriculture, and you need to compare that to the deaths that would be existing within a
I
comparable
honestly just never
way,
imagined that this would be up for dispute, but why don't you just click on the sources that are in the article and you can see exactly where he gets his information from?
Well,
Go ahead,
you haven't
let me-
vetted the information. Like, just provide the original sources.
Like, do you need me to hold your hand?
Like-
for you?
like, I'm not-
So,
Like,
hang on,
provide the
hang
studies
on,
for your
hang
own
on,
side.
hang on, hang on.
You just click the
You're
link.
not holding it with hands. Just source your
Alex,
argument.
if he's asking for the original sources, and your article does link to the original sources, it is fair for him to ask for you to link those original sources
Thank you,
in the
Andrew.
private chat so he can review them. There's nothing wrong with him requesting that.
Like, I'm
Okay.
not going to click on every link in this article and then
Like,
scroll through. And
Okay,
honestly,
fine.
I don't
I
think
will
it's
copy and
the
paste.
same
I'll do the manual labor and copy and paste those links. I feel like that's a way of getting out of engaging because it's silly.
Okay,
to
What?
click on
I
one.
No,
understand
it's
where you are,
not.
Alex, but so let me ask you
It's-
because
it
let's say
sounds like he
hypothet-
doesn't actually know which one he wants to reference, so now he's coping a little bit. That's kind of what that sounds like. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, how are you, Marley? Oh god.
Technically, we all adopted veganism, and we all lived for 300 years, and
Wait,
we're
what?
all 7 feet tall.
What?
So our population expands, and we need to start deforesting. Do we go ahead and doing that for oil and sugar?
Do you
we go
understand
ahead
that
and
we
do
have to? Okay, this
Why
is
are we
insane,
still- I
whack
understand
but
we
you
do
don't
that.
understand
Why
that
are
we
we
already have to
still-
do that for animal agriculture. It takes
Yes, I
more
do.
hold on, listen. It takes more calories and plants to feed the animals than feed
Yes.
that food to us than it would just
Why?
feed the plant feed the
That's
plant
not
matter
fair.
directly.
Well, to be fair,
Yes,
he's making
there's
That's a
still-
logical thing. But that's what I'm saying. It's an internal critique for the sake
So-
of saying, would you then stop it if it required deforestation?
Yeah, so again, if the human population increased to an adequate degree, I wouldn't necessarily be against it, because again, deforesting doesn't again necessarily violate the rights of these animals, and it could actually be beneficial. So there is probably more suffering that occurs within a square mile of wilderness versus a square mile of city. So I think there would maybe be an interest
Okay,
in
but so
reducing
if I had a
wildlife.
Named yourself. What does maimed? What? How have you managed that? Yeah, VG, when he's on the ball, like, he's pretty much a monster. Who the actual fuck are these dobbers? Who the actual fuck are these dobbers? See, if you read it in that accent, then it all makes more sense.
A mile chicken coop and have my chickens running around being all happy, and I just ate the eggs. I didn't even kill them for the meat.
Well, that's an extremely detached sort of hypothetical.
Why?
Well, in normal chicken, like in normal agriculture, if you're producing eggs,
I didn't ask about industrial. I'm asking for myself.
Yeah.
I personally did.
Well, you're currently getting the explanation for why it's detached from reality, right? Which is reality is the industrial agriculture. You and your personal hypothetical with the chicken eggs.
My chicken eggs and
if you personally. Well, now you've once again detached it from your hypothetical by saying you also get meat, right?
So so chickens only really lay eggs for, I think, a period of 2 or 3 years. Then their egg laying either falls off completely or it becomes extremely rare. And again, you're either going to spend time and resources tending to chickens that don't produce any food for you, or you're going to kill and eat them.
You're not engaging in a hypothetical at all.
Isn't it better than all the deaths?
No, I'm explaining why it's not better. No, so you have to feed. So you have to feed these chickens something, and
they
that
requires.
Themselves. So, no, they don't.
Wait,
they're not
going
to
square mile of that.
Chickens are very easy to maintain, by the way. Chickens are very easy
to maintain, but they can't completely feed themselves.
No.
And is it worse than letting them out? I mean, what's going to happen? A hawk taking their neck off? Live.
I don't.
Oh, what? So it's just better to kill me off just in case I go out into the wild and I get mauled by a bear? Like this, I just don't know why people say this.
What's better? Even trying to
I'm
saying what's better, being locked up and being an egg provider, or just letting them free? I mean, I don't understand the argument. Didn't you say?
Oh no! You tried to remove a skin tag. Oh, ouch!
I don't even know what. Like I'm being asked.
Aren't you arguing about rights? Aren't you arguing about rights?
Yeah, well, I would rather argue about rights actually. So I again,
okay, let's do that.
Rather than talking about sugarcane and chickens, let's get back to what we were talking about before. I think we got sidetracked, and we were talking about this right at the very beginning of the debate. So could you name we asked you to name the trait that's lacking in animals that if lacking in humans would justify killing humans. I believe the trait named was being human. So and it was defined as being part of the genus Homo.
Homo sapiens sapiens.
Okay, what is it meant by Homo sapiens?
Can we get an answer to the chicken egg question? Like, what is? I still haven't gotten an answer.
You guys just always want to put it away from us.
I don't know, and I don't.
No, we want to go into this.
No, I'd be happy to answer all your questions right after this.
There is some hype.
Alex,
but you want for some hype.
Guys, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut in, and I've let this very spirited debate continue to go wherever you guys wanted to take it. However, Vegan Gains did say, and we were going to begin to transition into the segment anyway of ethics, that he wanted to discuss rights. I think that's totally fair, and that's where we're going to kind of move into from here, Alex. So let's start with that, and this time I'll start with the carnist side for their inquiry. I've started with the vegan side.
Carnist side.
Debate, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, hold on. Let me go.
Hang on. Alex, what's on your mind?
Will I be able to have like 10 minutes to talk about the health side of it later on?
Yeah, we're going to get into the health side as well.
I'd rather die.
I know that this feels brutal back and forth. It's kind of supposed to, right? But we're only an hour and 20 minutes in, guys. We still have plenty of debate left.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go through this in another.
Go ahead, guys.
So so the whole concept of rights, right? Like, so to ask the question, what's distinct about a human being and an animal such that the human beings have some sort of priority? To ask the question is to assume that we have priority, because whatever the answer is, you're giving us some sort of superior position in the matter. So first, would we agree we're all speciesists, that we think humans are superior and we value humans above all other animals?
I don't value them on the basis of species, no.
On the basis of
not
what,
on the basis of species. I value it on the basis of individual merit.
Individual. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I'm not going to value any particular human above any particular cow. If there's a human that's less intelligent, less morally good in my view than a cow, so like I value a cow more than Hitler. I might value a cow more than somebody with a severe mental disability that's only going to live for 2 or 3 years. So I value people or animals based on their own individual characteristics, not based on what species they belong to.
Aren't you still taking the superior position of what we ought to do with animals in that regard?
What is meant by that?
Like, if you made that claim and now you're making choices about the cow, you're still assuming some sort of superior position.
No, not necessarily. Rights have to be granted. I acknowledge that, but I don't know what makes me superior to the cow necessarily.
Well, because we're talking about ethical positions on how we ought to treat or not treat animals. And animals aren't doing that Therefore, we're the ones making choices and determining policy and law and rights, which, by the way, are human construction. So animals don't have that. So if we were to determine rights about animals, you would agree that we're still necessarily valuing humans above all animals, given that we're determining what rights are for animals.
No, we're not necessarily valuing humans above animals by doing that, but I don't see why it would matter either way. Again, I believe in the principle of human rights, and it just seems logically consistent to me to include animals in the human rights code.
And the consequence of animals having rights would be that you would actually, in some instances, intervene with animal-to-animal rights violations.
Yeah, certainly. Like if I saw a pit bull attacking a human, or if I saw a pit bull attacking another dog, or if I saw like a pit bull or a wolf or a coyote, I don't know, attacking a turtle or something, then yeah, sure.
What about a mouse?
Yeah, sure.
Is there an animal? Is there an animal we can go down the line and suddenly it doesn't apply, or?
So yeah, other carnivorous animals I might not intervene. So if a dog was attacking a coyote, I would probably see that as a net good because it's a carnivore killing another carnivore. Insects, so like anteaters, the difference in sentience to me is just so massive between like an anteater and the ants or whatever insects it's eating. I think I'd just allow an anteater to eat insects, especially since ants are also carnivorous too. But even assuming they had non-carnivorous insect prey, the sentience gap is so massive.
Would you count insectivores as carnivores?
Yeah.
So mice are also
well, there's no such thing as insectivore. You're either a carnivore or herbivore or omnivore.
Okay, so that's what I asked actually.
Yeah.
So mice aren't worth protecting, therefore, and nor
it
chickens,
depends.
by the way.
Yeah, it depends on what type of mice or rodent you're talking about. There are omnivorous or carnivorous rodents, and there's ones that are herbivorous.
Well, they eat each other as well, so you know.
Yeah, I know some like mice parents will eat their babies. I know that happens.
With cats and dogs as well.
Well, I don't know how common that is in the wild. I know that is something that's observed only in captivity, at least in some species. But yeah, to clear this up, I'm only interested in killing carnivorous animals if it would lead to fewer rights violations.
Carnivores?
There are certain circumstances where it would actually lead to a greater number of rights violations. So I think that might resolve some of the questions you asked.
Actually, hold on. That's a good question. Like the question is like, take an animal that kills a lot of other animals, and would it actually follow that if you just completely annihilated the animal, that it would reduce? If it was the case, Vegan Gains, if you annihilated bears, let's say, or put them in jail, and you knew it would reduce all of the carnage that they deploy on other animals, would you enact such a thing?
Why would you say
eliminate
bear
them or put
jail
them
when
in jail?
you could just say zoos?
Yeah. So assuming it
Can you
would...
say bear jail for me?
Well, the idea would be to just keep them in captivity and feed them like vegan cat food or something.
Right. Yeah.
You could call it jail, sure, but
like a nice jail, like a nice
it would
vegan
just be
jail.
captivity.
Yeah.
Do you think that Jim Bob? Do you think the zoos are jails?
Scandinavian jail.
No, I want to answer my question. Is a zoo a jail, Jim Bob?
A zoo? No, it's not a jail.
Wait, but you're keeping all the animals there. Isn't it like an animal jail?
No, that's rhetorical. That's what's funny. That's why I wanted him to.
Stupid.
Talking to Jim Bob.
No, it's funny. Bear jail is funny to me.
It's funny to you. You thought it was a reductio in the View, and it's just
no, I didn't actually. I didn't say it was a reductio. I have an arbitrary goal.
Zoological garden.
Okay.
So it's a
Thank you, Posh. You really helped the argument there.
So to get back to the name the trait question.
Someone who tipped was Garuda Legends. Vegan Gains, how much prison time should I do for killing and eating a chicken if they have rights? How much time would a chicken do the can for eating a rodent? Oh my god, Garuda is everywhere.
What do you mean by Homo sapien sapien?
Humans.
So, right, but you said Homo sapien sapien. Homo sapien is the species, but you added sapien again. Like there's two sapiens there. What does that mean?
No, modern humans is Homo sapiens sapiens.
Oh, that's the subspecies you're thinking of, Posh. The species is Homo sapiens, right? Homo sapiens sapiens is like a subspecies that some taxonomists recognize and some don't. Right?
Yes,
but if you do recognize it, what we're asking you is what
aren't vultures true carnivores? Well, they're like necrovores, aren't they?
What is it makes that category? Because the species, there's a line around Ernst Mark's species concept is the line. But for listen. For the subspecies, we want to know what's the line around that.
Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, the greatest difference is the ability to argue, the ability to communicate on the level that humans can. But also,
no, I'm not asking you the difference. I'm asking you the definition. Like if somebody couldn't argue, they'd still be part of the species.
If they are defective members of the species, they are an outlier.
But what's the definition of the Homo sapiens sapiens?
I am actually not sure.
So
But,
the definition of Homo sapiens, I'll give you a problem.
No, if you'd like to.
Yeah, we really need clarity on what the trait is, because if you can't define it, then we can't.
I thought you were a lesbian. I am a lesbian. Did I say something that didn't convey otherwise? What?
I know you mean name the trait, but what my argument is basically, sorry, on the same level of saying I'd rather save my brother than a different human being who's not related to me in any way, shape, or form.
Right, but like
even if they're on.
Well, we can all tell you what our brother is. The brother is the guy. The brother is the guy who comes from the same mom and dad as you do, or mom or dad as you do.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the definition game is like. Can I get a few questions in? Just I don't have that much. So, as a quick side note, I do agree with you, Synth, about zoos being jails. The solution is wildlife sanctuaries. That's a much more ethical way of going about it. Okay, the main thing that I was going to say is this. I guess one thing that I kind of find odd. It seems that vegans are really concerned about the rights of animals, which is good. But when it comes to other humans who they agree are higher consciousness, they seem to not care nearly as much. Like, since you were saying you wouldn't pay more for the ethical t-shirt company because it costs more. So
I think it's bad for the people. Well, no, the issue is I think it's actually bad for the people who work in the sweatshops to boycott it. If you boycott sweatshops, I don't think that's effective. I think the effective strategy is to make sure the governments in these countries are treating their workers fairly with regulations, not by boycotting people who work in bad industries.
As an American, you have no say what happens in India. So, okay, so by your law,
no, we do. Wait, hold on. So America has America is currently. We live in a. We don't live in a multipolar world quite yet, right? We might in the future, but currently we don't. America is the global hegemon, right? We have complete control over a lot of aspects of global culture. We can do a lot economically. If it's the case, we vote for a person who says something like, "I'm going to stop the sweatshops in the third world." They can actually make some really large impacts there. So we as Americans do have a large impact on those other countries through their regulations. We do have that.
Okay, you. By yourself will not change any kind of policy in India. But so, okay, so I don't want to
get... Well, that's not true either, right? You as an individual citizen can canvass, you can door knock, you can get involved in local politics.
You're going to go to India and you're going to door knock? So my question
no, we don't have to door knock in India. We can door knock right here in the US, and like so recently there's been like a...
Okay, so we're like nearly halfway through, so what I'm going to do is if you have any questions, I will address them. So for a little bit longer, like any just general questions. And then I will be going away, and I'm keeping this up publicly, rather than just for channel members and patrons. And oh shit! Woo, that was close. And then yeah, I will watch the rest of it in the next live stream. I don't think we're gonna reach the goal today to read out a portion of the book, which is a shame, but I'll do it another time, I'm sure. Get there eventually. Ah! Imagine stealing from a food bank. That's a bit fucked. Link video? Yeah. It's on the Crucible. I have a question. How do you grow your Instagram? I bring out reels now every single day, basically. Just endless content. And then that way it's growing. Just keep up with the content. Don't let it go stagnant. Reels are really the one to get the attention. I'm going to be yeeted. But yeah, I'm really focusing a lot of my attention over there at the moment. Like, if I haven't, oh my god, if I haven't like posted on YouTube, or I'm died. What the fuck, bro? That was fucking shit. Yeah, like I focus a lot of my stuff on Instagram at the moment. You like my shorts? Yeah, I've been trying to just do them like everywhere. There's something that I can just like upload everywhere. I can do kind of short points and everything. So I've really been taking the time to work on those. And I paid for that captions thing. But yeah, just to let you know, I've got a video coming out on Sean Baker because he responded to me. Sorry, indigestion. He responded to me in a tweet. So that's a video coming out. I've got more outreach coming out. I really am annoyed because I had some outreach to go to on Saturday, but I had 2 hours sleep, so I just wasn't, you could say I wasn't feeling it. Like, you can't really go out when you're just so tired, because it's just like you're dealing with, like, you know, some really annoying people. Oh, I've got a cut there. Oh. You're dealing with some really annoying people. Are you going to have the mental strength to be able to, like, have those conversations with people while you're really, like, tired? Sean Baker is still alive somehow. He has a fully functioning something. Something. Oh, dear. Crucible viewers are very interesting. That's for damn sure. The gold bar, yeah. Oh, that's what you're referring to. The blindness. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what. Because I'm leaving now. If anyone tips right now, before I go, I will read out a little segment. It's all the more reason to just write more so that there's more segments. And just a reminder, if you want some sort of like vegan community to be part of, there is a veganism.social. Check it out. I'm over there. I'm on everything. I'm on Twitter. I'm like all over. What should I do? Should I go write my book, or should I edit some videos? I need to do thumbnails. I need to do videos. I need to do, yeah, some little shorts. I need to do some filming. I don't know where to begin. Hang on. So that I can get the message. Videos made to be viewed. Now, do you mind answering my question? You think I should go right? That means going to the cafe, which I could do. I could do that. I mean, I guess I could like sort out. I don't think we're gonna get a tip, so I will leave that for today. But I want to say thank you so much to Dad, and thank you so much to Ian the Pig, as well as Dogmeat, for your tips today. Thank you for supporting the channel. Your support means that this carries on. So thank you to anyone who's a patron. Thank you to anyone who's a channel member. I've invested a lot into my into this full-time work recently. So you know, your support right now is really helpful to me. I'm catching up on a lot of content at the moment because I filmed a wedding video for one of my friends. I managed to finish that, so I'm gonna just whack out some content. And I've got a collab video coming up with somebody. Got all sorts coming on, so that's good. Kenny has saved the day. Kenny has saved the day. Thank you so much for the super chat. I feel like when I do the book thing, I get less. Maybe people have an adversity to the book. Maybe if I'm just like, just give me money for the shit of it. that might actually work better. That's okay. Your skin, and you still gave me something. Thank you so much.
Salad.
Right. I'll do the socialization segment. People would typically rather be wrong in a group than be right alone. In the Ash conformity experiments, groups of 8 university students were asked to correctly identify matching lines on a selection of cards. The purpose of the study was to observe how participants would respond when other subjects, who were actors, delivered a clearly incorrect answer. When no deviation from the obvious answer was provided, the rate of error was below 1%. However, just over 63% of responses from the non-acting participants remained correct when pressure was applied by actors. The rate was drastically affected despite the answer being evidently easy to establish. This phenomena is an example of the bandwagon effect, whereby people appropriate certain lifestyles, behaviors, and beliefs based on what others do. It can explain how trends and traditions come to be and why people may act in ways they don't fundamentally agree with. Bob Lattner coined the concept of social impact theory, explaining how a person could be socially influenced. He outlines how the influence is strengthened by the, sorry, I'm going to turn that down, by the number of individuals following a certain behavior, which allows for a diffusion of responsibility, a lessening of personal accountability as being part of a group engaging in the same actions. So you get a grasp of, like, if you've been, you know, catching up with all the streams and you've seen the segments, like I'm talking about psychology behind why, like, it's hard to get people to change. I'm going to be talking about, like, yeah, the arguments and everything like that. I'm going to be talking about loads of stuff, and, you know, advocacy. It's going to be a big boy book, and again, as an ebook, it will be a pay as you feel. So you can technically get it for free, but I would very much prefer it if people who are vegan didn't. But, you know, I would like to bring out physical copies as well. That would be really nice. Yo, vegan, I'm just about to leave. Thank you so much to Kenny. Everyone, salads in the chat, because thanks to Kenny, you got that segment. I'm really bad at this whole, oh, 60 quid and I'll give you a book segment, because each time I've just been like, yo, we've not got very far in, but, like, I'll just read it out anyway. I'm going to have nothing left. So from now on, I'm going to be strict with it, because then that way not too much will be shared. But yes, as I was saying, thank you so much for your support. It really is helpful, especially in this period of time. So any amount, if you're a patron, channel member, a tipper, thank you so much. Yeah, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you so much. I do hope you're well. And until next time, salads, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.